Do what?
Flexes the leg.
It's going to flex the leg, but how?
To go outside.
To the outside, yes. It's going to be, once again, it's going to help your leg go out like this, which is, once again, something that we do in horses, and, well, I guess dogs definitely need to do that. But certain animals, you know, may or may not need to do that. But it helps it helps us do this. Helps us make that step to the right and left. Probably very important for professional football players to move in lateral motion. Along that same edge, stemming from the scapula here, we have gluteus major, which comes from the edge of the scapula right here, wraps over the pelvis, and then hooks. Well, here's our femur doing this, by the way. And it's going to kind of swing over those forms and then hook in to the side, and about a quarter of the way down the femur here. And we're going to end up with a muscle kind of like that. And if you see it from the back, it's going to do this kind of thing. Gluteus major, and of course that's one of those, that looks way large in this case. Gluteus major is one of those lovely muscles that we notice from the lovely people we see from a distance. I joke that I've told Twee many times is my better half, the lovely girl that was kind enough to at least stick around me for a while. I spotted her from a long way off, walking away from me. Wow! And studying anatomy, I thought, what a lovely gluteus. And she still has a lovely gluteus today. It's been a long time. Keeps me interested. I'm just weird that way. Let's see. Pectoral muscles in the front. Trapezius. You'd see that in the front, the trapezius muscle. Well, I mentioned sternomastoid muscle, which would be here on the neck, which creates this shape. It's another, as I said, it's a. It starts on one angle and ends up on another, which it's going around a form. And any muscle that does that, once again, helps us do this. It helps to rotate something. So it's a rotating muscle. The trapezius in the front, once again, the other part of sternomastoid is here. There's two muscles. It's a group. And then the trapezius is going to come down, and actually it's going to hook in about right there on the collarbone, and then swing this way. No, actually it's a little more down and then over. I was told it's like creating a rhythm. You get this line that goes about like from one to the other, and it's going to come down, meet the rhythm, and then cut over, and we get the top of our. And you feel this muscle on yourself. It's strong. It's a really, really strong muscle. Now the bone itself is hard, but this thing here, you know, just move your arm around, move your head around a little bit, and you know that it's there. One of those things that if you know it's there, when we're drawing the figure, you'll start to realize, well, I've got to pay more attention to that. That thing's, you know, quite a solid piece of equipment. And so actually this goes down more and then like that. The neck, we make this mistake a lot of times. The neck, we think of it as a straight tube or whatever, or we even think of it as concave, you know, that it goes in like this. But it actually, it's a bulge. It's normally a rounded shape like that. And that's one of those things that we make a mistake on when we draw the neck. And as I said, drawing the neck is very important to the figure, for me especially, because as I said, I get a real idea of the position and the aspect of the torso or the body of the character. Because I know we study it this way, flat and straight and all that, but then when Twee is modeling for us, she's going to turn, she's going to rotate, she's going to bend over, she's going to lean back. All these things are going on, and we have to, as artists, we have to make some conscious decision. What's the position of that? What really is happening in that position, and what's in play? Well, that's a big play. Get back a little bit and you start seeing what I'm doing. You know, sometimes I think to myself, well, I'm try to be cautious of the proportions. Over the top of connecting to the scapula, or the not scapula, the clavicle again, is the deltoid muscle. which will start here, and there, it's 3 pieces again. They wrap over the top of the clavicle, and then hook onto the back of the spine to the scapula, and we end up with this kind of shape here. And depending on how well developed, they're larger or smaller, and they go down probably a quarter, a third to halfway down that bone. What do you think it does? That's correct, sir. Yes, it raises the arm. Always wanted a bigger shoulder, by the way. When I was a little kid, you know, and other people were carrying their bag on their shoulder. You know, when I was just a little kid, I put a bag on my shoulder, it would just fall off. Felt like, you know, everyone else does it. Why can't I? You know? Now I still don't have much of a shoulder, but at least the bag will stay there. You know. That muscle, actually, think about it. The latissimus pulls the arm down. The deltoids pull it up. One muscle, but the latissimus doesn't do a lot of work in that respect because gravity does most of it. A lot of times too, when certain muscles are being helped by gravity, they usually don't have to develop as much. But that muscle is also pulling and pushing, so that is still a relatively strong muscle in our body. In the backside behind it is a muscle that actually hooks into the upper part, very close to the joint, but not quite, but up here into the scapula is 3 little muscles, actually, that hook in and come down the arm right here. You're going to see only about that much of it in the back, and of course those are referred to as the trapezius muscles. You've heard of that before, trapezius. And they're not very strong at all. And a good way to test and see, well, where are the trapezius muscles in you? Well, any idea what they do? Trapezius muscles. What would that muscle do?
Hold your arm up.
Well, the deltoid is helping to pull the arm up. That's correct. Yeah, it's gonna bring the arm back this way. And why would those muscles be weak? Yeah. Gravity does most of its work for it. No. We're a lazy people. We're all pretty lazy folks. If gravity will do something for us, why the hell should we bother? And so that's something, remember that in particular. So that muscle is relatively weak. And a fine example of where you'll find out how weak it is you go to the grocery store and you get your bags and all your groceries and stuff like that. And of course, you know, there's like 12 little plastic bags. You know? And and you really don't want to go back out to the car. So you do it all in one trip. And so you end up with a bag in this hand and 18 bags in the other one. And, you know, since you got eggs and bread and butter and all kinds of other stuff in there, if they're down like this and you're walking along, well, you're just beating the crap out of all your groceries, you know. So the only way you can carry these things is you got to hold them out here, you know, so that you don't, you know. And what happens to your arms very quickly?
Very tired.
It is very tired. And then because trapezius is in use, because we have very weak arm muscles. Those guys in the movies that you know, steroid-infested Arnold Schwarzenegger things, they sit there with their dumbbells and they're doing this, you know, all day long, you know, and you know they're on the bench doing this one, you know, working trapezius, trying to have something to show for their efforts, because it's it's a tough muscle to get to develop. It's a difficult one to have any shape or form in it. But of course, in weightlifting, you know, you need symmetry to the form. You have to have equal muscles on all directions and things like that. Otherwise, they disqualify you and cancel you out, throw you out of the competitions.